The morning sun streamed through the windows of the Earth Defense Force headquarters as Captain Jack Stone stared at the holographic message floating above his desk. He read it for the 5th time, still not quite believing what he was seeing. "This has to be a joke," he muttered, running a hand through his short brown hair. The message glowed with an official seal of the Unified Space Council, its alien script translated into English below. Asterisk, to Captain Jack Stone of Earth, asterisk. Asterisk, your presence is requested at the 457th Galactic Flight Championships. Asterisk. Stone leaned back in his chair, the old leather creaking under his weight. After 15 years of being Earth's top pilot, with over 300 combat missions and 42 confirmed saves of civilian ships, he thought he'd seen everything. But this was different. The door to his office slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Wilson walked in, his weathered face breaking into a rare smile. "I see you got the invitation." "Sir, is this real?" Stone asked, gesturing at the hologram. "The aliens have never let humans compete before. They always said we were too. What was the word they used?" "Primitive," Wilson finished, sitting down across from Stone. "They've called us that since first contact 50 years ago, but things are changing. That incident last month with the pirate fleet, when you saved that alien cruise ship, that caught their attention." Stone remembered that day clearly. 3 alien pirate ships had attacked a luxury cruise liner carrying important diplomatic families. The aliens' automated defense systems had failed against the pirates' jamming technology. Stone had flown in with his primitive manual control fighter and taken out all 3 pirates using old-school dogfighting techniques that no eye could predict. "But sir, the championship," Stone shook his head. "All the alien pilots use those neural interfaces, direct brain-to-ship connections. They think our manual controls are like trying to perform surgery with stone tools." Commander Wilson's smile grew wider. "That's exactly why you need to go. Show them what those stone tools can do in the right hands." He tossed a data chip onto Stone's desk. "Here's footage from the last championship. Study it. Learn it. The aliens fly like machines because they basically are machines. Perfect, predictable, programmed." Stone picked up the chip, turning it over in his fingers. "And you think that's their weakness? I think that after centuries of letting computers do their flying, they've forgotten what it means to truly feel a ship, to have instincts, to improvise." Wilson stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the flight deck where Stone's fighter, the Thunder, sat gleaming in the morning sun. "Their ships are faster, more advanced, and more powerful than anything we have. But a pilot? A real pilot? That's something they haven't seen in a long time." Stone loaded the chip into his terminal. The air filled with projections of alien ships moving in perfect formation, executing maneuvers with flawless precision. Their movements were beautiful, but mechanical. "The championship starts in 2 weeks, Wilson said. "That's not much time to prepare, but if anyone can show the galaxy what humans can do, it's you." Stone nodded slowly, watching the alien ships dance through their routines. He could already see patterns in their movements, predictable sequences that no human would follow. Maybe, just maybe, that predictability could be turned into an advantage. "I'll do it," he said finally. "But I'm taking the Thunder. No alien ships, no neural interfaces. If I'm going to show them how humans fly, I'm doing it the human way." Wilson nodded approvingly. "I wouldn't have it any other way. Show them why Earth's greatest pilot earned that title the old-fashioned way, with skill, guts, and that special kind of crazy that only humans have." As Commander Wilson left the office, Stone turned back to the footage, studying every movement, every pattern. The aliens thought humans were primitive, thought their ways were superior. They were about to learn that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. Sometimes being primitive meant being unpredictable. And in a fight, Unpredictable could be the deadliest advantage of all. The space station Helios looked like a giant silver wheel spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. Captain Stone piloted his transport ship toward it, with the Thunder secured safely in the cargo hold. As he got closer, he could see thousands of alien ships docked at the station, their hulls gleaming with strange metals he'd never seen before. Transport Ship Earth 7, maintain your current course. A computerized voice spoke through his radio. Your docking bay is number 247. Stone guided his ship carefully, noticing how different his approach was from the alien vessels around him. Their ships moved in perfect straight lines and precise angles, while he adjusted constantly, making small corrections based on feel and instinct. The docking bay was massive, easily fitting his transport ship. As the airlock sealed and gravity normalized, Stone took a deep breath. This was it. He was the first human to ever compete in the Galactic Championships. A group of aliens waited for him at the entry gate. Most of them were tall and thin, with blue-tinted skin and large eyes. They wore flowing robes covered in blinking lights, the latest in alien fashion, he guessed. "Welcome to Helios, Earth pilot," one of them said through a translator device. "I am Chief Official Rect. We must inspect your vessel before the competition." Stone led them to the Thunder. His fighter looked like a child's toy compared to the sleek alien ships in the bay. While their ships were all curves and strange glowing parts, the Thunder was angular, built for speed and maneuverability rather than looks. "This is your competition vessel?" another alien asked, not hiding the doubt in his voice. "That's right," Stone said proudly, patting the Thunder's hull. "Built on Earth, modified by me personally." The aliens crowded around the cockpit, their expressions growing more confused. One of them pointed at the control stick. "These are physical controls." "Manual controls," Stone confirmed, "just like the first pilots used." A loud laugh interrupted them. A new alien approached, wearing a decorated uniform that seemed to glow from within. He was bigger than the others, with deep purple skin and golden eyes. "So this is the human everyone's talking about," he said, looking down at Stone. "I am Admiral Krell of the Dominion, 5-time champion of these games." He gestured at the Thunder. "You plan to compete with this antique?" Stone met his gaze steadily. "This antique has gotten me through hundreds of combat missions." "Combat?" Krell laughed again. "This is not combat, human. This is art. Precision. Perfection. Our neural interfaces connect us directly to our ships. We think, they move. No delays, no crude physical movements, no human error." "Maybe a little human error is exactly what these games need," Stone replied. Krell's golden eyes narrowed. "You should watch the preliminary rounds tomorrow. See how real pilots fly. It might save you from embarrassing yourself and your species." As Krell walked away, Chief Official Rect stepped forward. "Your vessel passes inspection, though I must warn you, no human has ever qualified for the main competition. Perhaps Admiral Krell is right. You should observe first." Stone shook his head. "I didn't come here to watch." He looked around the docking bay at all the advanced alien ships. They were beautiful, powerful, and probably cost more than everything on Earth combined. But they all had one thing in common. They flew exactly the way their computers told them to fly. An old saying from his flight instructor came back to him. The best pilot isn't the one with the fastest ship or the most expensive tech. It's the one who can do what the enemy thinks is impossible. Well, Stone thought, looking at his trusty Thunder, these aliens were about to see a lot of impossible things. The preliminary rounds start at dawn station time. Rect said, "Do not be late." As the aliens left, Stone started his pre-flight checks, doing everything by hand, just as he always had. Tomorrow, he would show the galaxy that sometimes the old ways were still the best ways. Sometimes, being human meant being able to do what no computer could predict. He smiled as he ran his hand along the Thunder's hull. Let's show them how we fly back home. The qualification course stretched out before Stone's viewport, a massive three-dimensional maze of glowing rings, spinning barriers, and electromagnetic fields. From his position at the starting line, he could see at least 50 other ships waiting their turn. The thunder hummed quietly around him, ready for action. Earth pilot, the computerized announcer's voice crackled through his radio. Your qualifying run begins in 30 seconds. Remember, you must complete the course within 5 minutes and hit at least 80% of the precision targets to qualify. Stone flexed his hands on the control stick, watching the alien ships ahead of him finish their runs. Each one moved the same way. Perfect lines, exact angles, precise turns. Their neural interfaces calculated the mathematically perfect path through every obstacle. 10 seconds. He took a deep breath, remembering Commander Wilson's words about being unpredictable. The alien spectators in the observation rings around the course were probably expecting him to fail. After all, every ship before him had used computer-perfect movements. Begin. Stone pushed the Thunder forward, but instead of taking the standard approach path, he rolled his ship sideways and shot through the first ring at an angle. The move saved him precious seconds and positioned him perfectly for the next obstacle. Unusual entry angle detected, the computer announced. Warning, approach not optimal. Stone ignored the warning, pushing his ship faster. Where alien pilots slowed down to make precise turns, he used the Thunder's momentum, letting his ship slide through turns in controlled drifts that looked chaotic but got him through faster. In the observation rings, aliens were pointing and talking rapidly. Nobody had ever seen flying like this before. Some were shaking their heads. Others were leaning forward with interest. The hardest part came next, a series of rapidly spinning rings that had to be hit in exact sequence. The alien ships had been stopping briefly before each ring, letting their computers calculate the perfect moment to proceed. Stone didn't stop. He rolled the Thunder into a spiral, matching the spin of the rings themselves. To the observers, it looked like he was out of control, but Stone could feel it was right. Years of combat flying had taught him to trust his instincts. Warning, uncontrolled spin detected. But he wasn't uncontrolled. He was dancing. The Thunder threaded through each ring perfectly, its spiral matching the pattern exactly. He finished the sequence in half the time of the other competitors. In the final stretch, Stone faced the precision targets, small floating spheres that had to be hit with low-power energy pulses. The alien ships had been stopping to aim at each one individually. Stone took a different approach. He fired up the Thunder's engines to full power and began a rolling dive through the target field, firing continuously. His shots seemed random, even sloppy, but each one found its mark. He was using an old dogfighting technique, not aiming where the targets were, but where his instincts told him they should be. When he crossed the finish line, there was complete silence in the observation rings. Then the computer announced his score. Course completion time, 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Target accuracy, 82%. Qualification, achieved. He had barely made the accuracy requirement, but his time was almost a full minute faster than any other competitor. As he guided the Thunder back to the docking bay, he could see Admiral Krell watching from the judge's platform. His golden eyes narrowed in confusion and anger. An older alien with silvery skin approached Stone as he climbed out of his cockpit. Unlike the others, this one's eyes showed interest rather than doubt. "I am Master Pell," the alien said. "Retired flight instructor. I have never seen flying like that before." "That's because it wasn't programming," Stone replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It was pure human instinct." Master Pell nodded slowly. Perhaps that is exactly what we have been missing. Would you join me for a meal? I would very much like to understand how you think when you fly." As they walked away from the Thunder, Stone could hear the other competitors already changing their flight plans, trying to understand how a primitive human pilot had managed to complete the course so quickly. But they were still thinking like computers, trying to calculate and copy his moves. What they didn't understand was that you couldn't program instinct. You couldn't calculate feel. Some things could only come from a human pilot's heart. Master Pell's private quarters on Helios Station offered a stunning view of the practice areas where alien ships continued their perfectly programmed maneuvers. Stone sat across from the old alien instructor, holding a cup of something that looked like blue tea but smelled like cinnamon. "Tell me," Master Pell said, his silvery skin reflecting the starlight, "how did you know that spiral maneuver would work in the spinning rings? No computer would have suggested such a risky move." Stone took a sip of his drink. "I didn't know for sure. I felt it. When you've flown enough combat missions, you develop a sense for how your ship moves. It becomes like dancing." "Dancing?" Master Pell's eyes brightened. "Yes, that's exactly what it was like before." He fell silent, looking out at the practice ships. "Before what?" "Before the neural interfaces," Pell sighed. "I am old enough to remember when we still flew with manual controls. Not as basic as yours, but we still used our hands, our bodies. We felt our ships." He gestured at the practicing pilots. "Now look at them. Perfect, precise, and completely predictable." Stone watched as a group of ships performed identical maneuvers through a practice course. "Why did your people switch completely to neural control?" "Efficiency," Pell said, almost sadly. "Fewer accidents, better performance scores. The computers never get tired, never make mistakes. But," he turned back to Stone, "they also never surprise you, never create something new. You know what every ship will do before it does it." "That's exactly what I noticed in the footage," Stone said. "Every move is calculated for maximum efficiency. But in real combat, the enemy doesn't follow your calculations," Pell finished. "Tell me about your most difficult battle. Help me understand how humans think when they fly." Stone thought for a moment. "There was this pirate attack last year. 3 ships against just me. Their jamming technology knocked out our targeting computers, so I had to fly completely manual. No computer assistance at all. And yet you won," Pell said. "How?" "I did something stupid," Stone smiled. "I cut my engines completely, let my ship tumble through space while firing randomly. The pirates' computers couldn't predict where I was shooting because even I didn't know. Their programming told them my moves were impossible, suicidal even. But sometimes impossible is exactly what works." Master Pell stood up and walked to a small cabinet. He pulled out an old piece of equipment that looked like a manual control stick. "This was mine, long ago. I keep it to remember." He handed it to Stone. "Feel the wear on the grip. Thousands of hours of real flying, not programming. Each scratch tells a story." Stone ran his fingers over the worn surfaces. Despite the alien design, he could feel the similarities to his own controls. The marks where countless split-second decisions had been made, where instinct had overcome calculation. "You remind me of myself, when I was young," Pell said. "Before we let the computers take over everything. Tomorrow, in the main competition, they will expect you to fail. Admiral Krell has already programmed his ship with countermoves for every possible scenario." "Every possible scenario they can calculate," Stone corrected. Pell smiled. "Exactly. Their weakness is their certainty. They believe that everything can be predicted, controlled, calculated. But you," he pointed at Stone, "you bring chaos to their order. Beautiful, human chaos." "Is that a good thing?" Stone asked. "It is a necessary thing," Pell replied. "Our people have forgotten that sometimes the best solution isn't the most logical one. Sometimes you need to trust your feelings, your instincts." He looked at the old control stick in Stone's hands. "Perhaps it is time for all of us to remember what it truly means to fly." As Stone left Master Pell's quarters that evening, he felt more confident than ever. The aliens might have better technology, faster ships, and perfect programming. But tomorrow he would show them something their computers could never understand: the human spirit of flight. Looking at the thunder in its docking bay, Stone smiled. Tomorrow wasn't just about winning a competition. It was about showing the galaxy that being human wasn't a disadvantage. Sometimes, it was the greatest advantage of all. The first day of the main competition started with a challenge that made Stone's heart race. The arena was filled with floating asteroids, some as big as buildings, others barely larger than his ship. Red target beacons blinked throughout the field, hidden behind rocks and inside narrow caves. Pilots, today's trial combines precision flying with target acquisition. The announcer's voice echoed. You must hit all targets while avoiding collision. Contact with any asteroid means immediate disqualification. Stone watched the first few alien pilots navigate the course. Their ships moved carefully, stopping at each obstacle to scan and calculate the perfect path. It was safe, methodical, and very slow. Admiral Krell's run was different. His sleek purple ship darted through the asteroid field with impressive speed, his neural interface processing thousands of calculations per second. When he finished, his time set a new record. Krell's golden eyes found Stone in the waiting area, his expression smug. Beat that, human. Krell's voice crackled over the radio. Stone's turn came last. As he guided the thunder toward the starting line, he remembered Master Pell's words about bringing chaos to their order. The asteroid spun slowly ahead of him, and he could see the first target glowing deep inside a twisted path of rocks. Begin, the computer announced. Instead of stopping to scan the field, Stone pushed his engines to full power. The thunder shot forward, weaving between the larger asteroids like a bullet. He didn't need computers to tell them where the gaps were. Years of flying through debris fields had taught him to feel the spaces. Warning: speed exceeds safety parameters, the computer warned. The first target appeared ahead, hidden behind 3 spinning rocks. The alien pilots had waited for the rocks to align perfectly before taking their shot. Stone didn't wait. He rolled the thunder sideways and fired through a gap that existed for less than a second. Target acquired, the computer confirmed, surprise somehow evident in its artificial voice. Stone's heart pounded as he flew deeper into the field. Where others saw obstacles, he saw opportunities. He used the asteroid's gravity to slingshot the thunder through tight turns. He scraped through gaps with barely inches to spare, the ship's metal groaning with the strain. In the observation deck, aliens were pressed against the windows. No one had ever flown through the asteroid field like this. It looked reckless, dangerous, completely illogical, and it was working. The final section was the hardest. 3 targets were placed inside a dense cluster of rotating asteroids. The other pilots had taken several minutes to navigate this part, carefully plotting each movement. Stone took a deep breath and did something that made the entire audience gasp. He cut his main engines and fired his maneuvering thrusters in short bursts, letting the thunder dance between the rocks like a leaf in the wind. His shots threaded through gaps that seemed impossibly small. Final target acquired, the computer announced. Run completed. When the scores appeared, the observation deck erupted in chaos. Stone had beaten Krell's time by 42 seconds. His path through the asteroid field had been so unexpected that the competition's monitoring computers had initially marked it as an error. As Stone landed the thunder, he saw Master Pell standing with a group of young alien pilots. They were pointing at his ship and talking excitedly. Even some of the other competitors were studying recordings of his flight, trying to understand how he had done it. Admiral Krell stormed over, his purple skin dark with anger. Impossible. Your flying defies all logical patterns. The neural interfaces calculate billions of possibilities, yet you. He stopped, frustrated. How do you do it? Stone climbed out of his cockpit, his legs still shaking slightly from the adrenaline. That's the thing about humans, Admiral. We don't always follow logical patterns. Sometimes the best path is the one that no computer would ever choose. As he walked away, Stone could hear the other pilots talking about his run. Some called it luck, others called it madness. But he noticed something interesting. In the practice area, a few young alien pilots were disconnecting their neural interfaces, reaching for their manual controls instead. Tomorrow would bring the final challenge, and Stone knew Krell would be more determined than ever to prove that technology was superior to human instinct. But for now, he had shown the galaxy something important. Sometimes the best way to fly wasn't the most logical way. It was the human way. The final challenge was simple but dangerous. A one-on-one dogfight between Stone and Admiral Krell. The winner would be the first pilot to score 3 direct hits with their training weapons, or force their opponent to withdraw. The arena was massive, a spherical space filled with broken ships, old space stations, and debris. Perfect for hiding, perfect for surprises, perfect for human-style combat. "This is your last chance to withdraw." Krell's voice came through the radio as their ships faced each other at opposite ends of the arena. His vessel gleamed purple and black, bristling with advanced technology. "Save yourself the embarrassment." Stone checked the Thunder's controls one last time. "Sorry, Admiral. Humans don't give up that easily." "Begin," the computer announced. Krell's ship vanished instantly, using its advanced cloaking technology. Stone pushed the Thunder forward, weaving through the debris. He knew Krell's neural interface would be calculating every possible attack angle, running millions of scenarios per second. But Stone had fought invisible enemies before. He watched the floating debris, looking for tiny movements that would reveal a cloaked ship. A piece of metal shifted slightly to his left, not from natural movement, but from the wake of an engine. Stone fired without hesitation. His shot struck Krell's ship just as it decloaked for an attack. "Hit confirmed," the computer announced. "Score: Earth 1, Dominion 0. Krell's angry roar filled the radio. His ship spun around with impossible speed, firing a barrage of shots. But Stone was already moving, using a large piece of debris as cover. He'd learned long ago that in a real fight, staying still meant death. The Thunder dove through a broken space station, its hull scraping against metal. Krell followed, his superior ship easily keeping pace. Stone could hear his engines straining as he pushed them beyond their limits. "Your primitive ship cannot match mine," Krell taunted, firing another burst. One shot clipped the Thunder's wing. "Hit confirmed. Score: Earth 1, Dominion 1. Stone didn't respond. He was too busy implementing a crazy plan. He cut his engines completely, letting momentum carry him forward while he spun the Thunder around. Now he was flying backward, facing Krell while still moving along his original path. "Warning: illegal flight configuration," the computer protested. Krell's ship hesitated for a split second, exactly as Stone had hoped. The move was so illogical that even Krell's advanced computers couldn't predict it. Stone fired, scoring his second hit. Score: Earth 2, Dominion 1. But Krell recovered quickly. His ship's superior speed allowed him to catch up to the Thunder, firing from multiple angles. One shot struck home. Score: Earth 2, Dominion 2. The next hit would decide everything. Krell activated his cloaking device again, disappearing from view. Stone found himself surrounded by debris, knowing his opponent could attack from any direction. Then he remembered something from his early training days. When everything goes wrong, do something so crazy that no one would expect it. Stone aimed the Thunder at a large piece of spinning debris and fired his engines at full power. Instead of avoiding the collision, he was heading straight for it. "Warning: collision imminent," the computer blared. At the last possible second, Stone fired at the debris. The explosion created a cloud of smaller pieces flying in all directions. One of them struck something invisible, Krell's cloaked ship. The impact forced Krell to decloak just as Stone fired his final shot. The blast struck perfectly. Final score: Earth 3, Dominion 2. Winner: Earth. Complete silence filled the arena. Then, from the observation decks, cheering erupted. Hundreds of alien spectators celebrated not just a victory, but a completely new way of thinking about space combat. Krell's ship hung motionless in space. When his voice finally came through the radio, it was quiet, almost respectful. How? How did you know where I was? I didn't. Stone replied honestly. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts and take a risk. That's the human way. As Stone guided the Thunder back to the docking bay, he saw Master Pell standing with a group of young alien pilots. They were all applauding, and many of them had already removed their neural interfaces. The galaxy would never look at human pilots the same way again. 1 month after the championship, Stone stood in the main training hall of Helios Station, watching something that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. Dozens of young alien pilots were practicing with manual controls, their neural interfaces set aside. Master Pell walked up beside him, smiling. See what you started. They call it hybrid flying now, combining our technology with human-style instincts. Stone watched as an alien pilot successfully completed a tricky maneuver without computer assistance. The other students cheered. They're learning fast, he said. Of course they are. Pell nodded. We always had the ability. We just forgot it was there, buried under all our technology. He gestured to another part of the training hall where Admiral Krell was working with a group of pilots. Surprisingly, Krell had become one of the strongest supporters of the new flying style. After his defeat, he'd spent days studying recordings of Stone's flights, trying to understand the human approach. Now he was teaching others how to combine the best of both worlds. Captain Stone, Krell called out, walking over. He looked different now, more relaxed, less rigid. I owe you an apology. I called your methods primitive, but I was wrong. They're not primitive, they're fundamental. Stone shook his head. No apology needed. We all learned something important here. Indeed, Krell agreed, which is why the Galactic Council has a proposal for you. He handed Stone a datapad. We want you to help establish the first human-alien flight academy, teaching pilots from both our worlds to fly with both technology and instinct. Stone looked at the proposal in surprise. The academy would be built in Earth's solar system, making it easy for human pilots to attend. It would combine the best technology from across the galaxy with training in human-style flying. The Council finally understands, Pell said. True advancement doesn't mean abandoning the old ways. It means building on them, combining them with the new. A group of young pilots approached them, both alien and human. After Stone's victory, several human pilots had been invited to train at Helios. Now they were working together, each learning from the other's style. Will you teach us that backward flying trick? One of the alien pilots asked Stone. The one you used in the final battle. Only if you teach me how to use that cloaking technology, Stone replied with a smile. That's exactly what we're hoping for, Krell said. An exchange of knowledge. Your human creativity combined with our advanced technology. Imagine what we could achieve together. Stone looked around the training hall again. Just a month ago, every pilot here had relied completely on neural interfaces and computer control. Now they were learning to trust their instincts, to feel their ships, to embrace the unpredictability that made flying an art as much as a science. I'll do it, he said, signing the proposal. But on one condition. We keep some of the old ships around, like the Thunder. Sometimes the best way to learn is to start with the basics. Master Pell laughed. I think we can manage that. After all, your primitive ship did beat the most advanced vessel in the galaxy. As they walked through the training hall, Stone saw the future taking shape. Human pilots were teaching aliens about instinct and improvisation, while alien pilots shared their advanced technology and techniques. Together, they were creating something entirely new. The Thunder sat proudly in its docking bay, now surrounded by a mix of advanced alien ships and human vessels. A plaque had been placed beneath it, reading, "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Sometimes being human is the greatest advantage of all." Stone smiled, remembering Commander Wilson's words from what felt like a lifetime ago. Show them what those stone tools can do in the right hands. Well, he had shown them. And now, Humans and aliens were working together to create a new way of flying, combining the best of both worlds. It wasn't about who was more advanced or primitive anymore. It was about understanding that true progress meant keeping the best of the past while embracing the future. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be.